participants with us today. Again, we thank you for joining us. Welcome to our very last support seminar for Gen 27. I want to thank all of you who have attended past seminars and welcome those of you who might be attending for the first time today. You have just a very few days until you submit your Gen 27 application. So today we're going to focus on some final touches before you submit and also on engaging the community. Now for some introductions. A little later in the program, we're going to have a very special guest who will be joining us at 4. He is Davis Salazar, Superintendent of Houston Classical Academy, a Generation 24 charter school. He walked in your shoes not too long ago. But first, we're going to have a presentation by John on final touches before you submit. Unfortunately, Natalie is not able to be with us today. So we're both filling in for her. John, do you want to give a welcome?
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I took down the agenda too fast. Yeah, we're nearing, sorry. We are nearing the end. You all have done, I'm presuming, an amazing job because we've got some great questions ever since we launched the app. So we're really looking forward to getting those proposals in on the 7th.
And I'm Joanne Wise. Again, very happy that you could join us today. So as I stated a little while ago, and as the agenda states, we're going to be devoting today helping you focus on some last minute details prior to submitting and also engaging the community and showing that engagement in your applications. And we're going to end with a Q&A session after each presentation. Before we get started, a little housekeeping. Please put any questions in the Q&A function. This is for archival purposes. We're going to try to answer them during the Q&A periods, and then we're going to post them on the FAQ document in the information sessions webpage. Secondly, we are recording today's session, and we will post it on the additional supports webpage along with the presentations. So now, without any further ado, John, the floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you, Drew. So yeah, as Drew said, we're going to talk a little bit about final touches and then ultimately how you're going to submit it. And then we'll end this presentation with a brief walkthrough of what it's going to look like when you actually do it. All righty. So let's see if I can get PowerPoint to work. All right.
John,
so let's...
I'm sorry. Let me just say that we're going to answer the questions at the end. We don't want to miss any of your questions. So we're going to go ahead and answer at the end.
All right, so let's go over a little bit of high-level overview. This is nothing that you all haven't seen before, but I think it's going to be a good groundwork to really inform the rest of our conversation. So first off is when, how, and where are you going to submit the application, right? So we've said this a million times, but we'll say it again. Your application is due on December 7th at 5 p.m., and that is Central Standard Time. How are you going to submit your application? So if you're a returning applicant, you've in the past had to do a paper application. We've tried to stress this generation that you do not need to do a paper application anymore. It's just electronic. So please, please, please do not mail hard copies to TEA like you may have done in the past. And then where? So you are going to upload your documents to ShareFile. For those who attended our last support seminar, we talked a little bit about this, about ShareFile, and we talked about that you are not going to submit you're not going to go to ShareFile 3 or 4 different times. You're going to go one time and upload all the documents at once, and we'll get to that when we do our walkthrough. All right, so again, as a reminder, what application documents are you actually submitting? So this is going to depend largely on, are you a new operator or an experienced operator? For those who I assume are going to be the majority of you that are new operators, you're going to have 3 files that you're going to upload to us. The first one is a narrative document, and that consists of the table of contents, the checklist, the profile page that you've been sending out with your statement of impact forms, and the narrative responses, and then lastly, the letter of special assurances. Collectively, that is a narrative document. You downloaded it as one file, you will upload it as one file. The attachment submission document, this is the document that you will combine all your attachments with. So as you have looked at all the attachment cover sheets and followed the directions and responded to them, you're going to compile all of those attachments into one PDF file, and that will be your attachment submission document. Last week or the week before last, I sent you all an email kind of like outlining some possible options you may have in creating that submission document. If you have questions about it, feel free to ask and we can address it today. The third file is your financial plan workbook. And again, that's going to be uploaded the same as you downloaded it. So you downloaded it as an Excel document, you're going to complete it, and then you're going to upload it as that Excel document. You do not need to convert it to PDF. If you're an experienced operator, you have one more file. So if you're an experienced operator, you have 4 files. And that 4th file is that Excel document that you downloaded that outlined your CMO's portfolio. So to recap, if you're a new operator, you're going to give us 3 documents. If you're an experienced operator, you're going to give us 4 documents. So let's talk about final touches. So what are some things and quality controls that you can do before you submit the application? And I think these are really important. I think you'll have time to really implement this before you submit. So step 1, I would always say, and we always encourage you all to review agency expectations. We tried to hammer this home. We won't stop now. So please, please, please go back and read the instructions and guidance document. Within that document, there are little hyperlinks that will provide access to some of those presentation slides, one of which is like how it's scored, another is assembling the document, et cetera. We've also published a scoring rubric document. Again, you can access that inside the instructions and guidance document. Look at that. Also look at the completion check overview. That's the support seminar I'm talking about that we did a couple weeks ago. That would be seminar 5. That recording is online and you can review that. Some of it will be going over today, just kind of recapping, but we encourage you all to go back and really look at that video and look at the presentation. I did email you all that in our last update, our last weekly update email. So it should have been in your, I believe, in your email, but if it isn't, or you didn't see it, like I said, go back online to our website and you can view it there. So step 2. Really, it's just doing your own completion check, right? So this goes back to go back and look at what we do during our completion check. That's number 1. And number 2, again, just make sure that your application is to the standard that you want it. But beyond that, we do want to point out some things that I think really help applicants do some of those checks. So in the narrative document, again, you download it as one big PDF document. You've been filling it out. At the beginning of that document, there's a checklist. That checklist, everything on that checklist should be included in your application. So it's a good way to cross-check, make sure like, okay, yeah, we have attachment E1. Yep, attachment E2. Yep, we filled out this, we filled out that. Yep, we did a table of contents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Your page count, someone already asked about the page count. So your page count, if you're a new operator, the financial plan section is the last section of the narrative responses, right? So the letter of special assurances does not count towards your page limit. So it'll go over 100 in your letter of special assurances, but your financial plan, that last section should not go past 100, right? So your last word of your financial plan section should not go past page 100. And remember, the page 100 is counting on the lower right-hand corner of the page. It's not the PDF. Don't go by the PDF count at the top. Go by what it's actually counting as on the bottom of each narrative page because it's auto-calculated. For experienced operators, your portfolio overview section, that should not exceed page 120. Signatures, again, I sent out an email a few weeks ago about the signatures and a couple options. So we learned that Adobe will not allow you to actually do 2 e-signatures in one fillable PDF form. So the workaround to that will be to do one of two things. Number one, when you convert it, if you do it this way, you convert it to a flat PDF and then just insert your signatures that way. Or the other option, you could do it the old school method, which is just print it all out, sign it, scan it back in, and that'll be your flat PDF. However you want to do it. And again, if you want to talk about that later, just input the question in the comment or question and we can talk about it. So your attachments document. You want to be sure that you've included all the attachments. So that means even if you get to something and you're like, this doesn't apply to us, don't leave it blank. Don't just not submit it. On each cover sheet, if there's an option for it not being applicable to you, there's a little box that says not submitting documentation or this is not applicable. Click that box because during our completion check, we don't know if you forgot it or if it's not applicable. So we want to just be sure that we know that you knew that it was not applicable. And so we don't count that as missing when we do our completion check. Attachment cover sheets, as a reminder, you're going to include all the attachment cover sheets. So attachment E1 cover sheet, and then you put your attachment behind you. Attachment E2 cover sheet, then your E2 attachment response. So we want to get even the cover sheets back. You also want to be sure that when you're making that one big document, that you're going to make sure that the attachments are in order, that they appear on that table of contents in the narrative document. Because in the past, we have gotten applications that are completely out of order, and then we have to go back and try and piece together like what the order is. And what that does is it prolongs our ability to make a determination, and then you have to wait longer. So just be sure that everything's in its correct order before you submit it to us. And then pagination, don't go back or don't forget to go back when you make that document to put in the page number on the lower right-hand corner. And again, if you're a returning applicant, this is similar to what you've had to do in the past. If you're a new applicant, again, just don't forget to do that. So again, to recap for the attachments doc, be sure it's complete, be sure you include all the cover sheets, make sure that it's in order, and be sure that you don't forget to put page numbers in the lower right-hand corner. All right. Okay. So I also wanted to include this, this page. It looks familiar if you attended our last seminar or looked at the presentation that we did last seminar. But I wanted to kind of go over it because we are talking about final touches and making sure that you've addressed some of those top items that typically are missed during the completion check process. So to really quickly recap, make sure before you submit on December 7th that you have provided all the statement of impact forms to all the ISD superintendents, ISD board presidents, and the elected officials that are within your geographic boundaries. Number two, make sure that you have that you emailed for all those public meetings, because again, that's a common thing we see applicants miss is that, oh, they forgot to send it to Senator so-and-so. So be sure that you have emailed those. Staff HR forms, another big one. Be sure before you submit your app that you look at your org charts and you look at all those HR forms. Make sure, look at your org chart. If you can see all of those org chart titles and all those positions in your HR forms, then you're good to go, or vice versa. Because again, what commonly happens is someone will forget, I don't know, the cafeteria manager or whatever. And then we have to say, hey, it's incomplete, we need this, right? So that's a good thing you can check for before you submit it to us. As I said before, number 4 is attachment cover sheets are missing. Be sure that you give us all the attachment cover sheets. I want to hit on number 5 for a second, because every year I think 1 or 2 applicants stumble on this. So in one of the attachments, it asks you for a statement of financial position, statements of activity, and cash flow statements. Even if you're a new entity, you need to submit something, even if those say 0, right? So again, this goes back to, even if you don't think it's applicable to you, don't leave it blank. So for this particular one, you need to, even if it says 0, that's what you're submitting to us. Proof of filing for tax exempt status. So again, as we've told you before you submit your application, be sure that you have something to show that you have already submitted for your 501c3 tax exempt status. Don't not give us anything, because we're going to, again, assume we can't read your mind. So you need to go ahead and before you submit, go, okay, great, here it is. 7 and 8, we talked about a little bit, but I want to bring it back up. Before you submit, please look at your bylaws and make sure that there is no religious purpose in your bylaws. Documents that, and then applicants have in the past provided documents that still have the names of other organizations inserted in the document. Again, maybe it's like a form or something like that that you've been given by another organization. Again, before you submit it, be sure that those have your name in it, not some other organization's name. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the submission process. All right, so how are you going to upload the application? Share file is way easier than what we used to use, Excellion. And I think if you all have used Dropbox before, the format will look extremely similar. If not, we'll walk through it today so you can see how easy it is. So first thing is you're going to access the share file, the interface. So that means you're going to go to the link. It's here, but it's also in the instructions and guidance document. So you can find it wherever. It's scattered throughout all these documents that we've been providing you all since September 17th. It's going to, so once you go to that link, it's going to send you to like a registration, I guess, registration or data input page, and you're going to have to put your email, your name, and your company. So as a reminder to you all, the email that you're going to use is the email provided in the application for like the main contact, because that is who we are going to email saying, hey, you're going to external review, or hey, you need to remedy something in your application during a completion check, et cetera. So if you give us the wrong email, this is the email that we're going to use. So we need to be able to recognize it. Name, again, so you're going to use the name of the main contact. Then the company, you're going to put the company, you're going to put the sponsoring entity. So not the name of the school, but the sponsoring entity. Again, that helps us as we organize and kind of file your applications. Upload documents. So all you're going to do, and we'll walk through it, is you're just going to drag and drop. So you're going to drag it from your folder, wherever you have it on your computer, and you're going to literally drag it with your mouse into the window, and it's going to upload it. And then you're going to hit that upload button, and boom, theoretically, you should be done. As a reminder, the upload is one step. So meaning you're not going to have to upload, sign out a share file, do it again. You're going to upload all 3 2-4 documents into share file at the same, like during the same session. Best practices. I think Drew and I went back and forth on like kind of like how much time is enough time, but I think we really feel good about, you all should at least have about 2 hours before you actually start to submit. And I say that because your internet may go out, your computer may crash, who knows what, right? The files may be big and your internet's a little bit slower, and here we're creeping up on 5 o'clock and you're still uploading, right? So we've always told applicants, and it's nothing new this year, is that we are not responsible for any technological issues on your end. So again, if for whatever reason you're sitting there at 4:55 and something happens and it's 5:02 now, there's no excuse. We won't grant an extension because of internet lag, et cetera. So I would strongly recommend at least 2 hours. So that way, if something does happen, or you're having trouble with share file or whatever, you can try and call us. Can't promise anything, but we will try and work with you on trying to get it, troubleshooting, get it figured out. So just give yourself enough time. It's really important. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of a walkthrough here. Let me see if I can do this successfully and not embarrass myself. Hold on 1 second. All right, so we're going to stop this share, start a new one. One second, y'all, so sorry, be patient. All right, my computer is being super slow today. All righty. Drew, can you see the agenda?
I can, sorry.
You can? Okay, great. All right, so trying to figure out how to make this go away. Okay, there we go. All righty. Okay, so this is my hypothetical support seminar, or this is my hypothetical applicant files. Can you see that, Drew, the three files in the folder?
Charter ABC, yes.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So this represents, I have my narrative document complete, my financial plan workbook complete, and I've assembled my attachment submission documents. I'm ready to submit, I'm ready to upload. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go find the link to the link. All right, so now it should take me to share file.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna input. Let's just say that the email that I put in my application is this email. Okay, so that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna hit continue.
Will you tell me why you put Charter ABC Inc. for the company?
Absolutely, because that's the sponsoring entity. So instead of saying Charter ABC, which is my school name, my sponsoring entity is actually Charter ABC Inc. So that's why I'm going to put that. I'm going to hit continue. All right, so this is going to take us to that drag and drop screen. So I'm going to go to my folder. If it lets me.
You're there.
I'm trying to move it. Okay, all right, well, so I'm gonna you can do it one at a time, or you can do all at one time. You're gonna drag it over. And there it is. Then you're gonna hit upload. It should be doing some internet magic. Okay, that's it. Yep.
I also know that looked super easy, but I also noticed that it says browse files. Would I be able to browse and find my files and upload like that?
Yep. You could do it that way too. So if you don't want to drag and drop, or that's not comfortable for you, you can hit browse files and it'll just open up a window. Let's do that. And then it will show you. And then there are my files, and I can just upload them that way. So I'll just show you one more time. Let's open that one. There we go. Let's upload that one too. Okay. So
now,
that's it.
I'm thinking very, very good. There's two options. I'm thinking that, your files were uploaded pretty quickly because they're not as large as other files.
Right. So great question. This goes back to timing, and this also goes back to potential concerns. So share file does not, and let me just stop sharing my screen. So share file doesn't have any foreseeable impact on the size of your application file. It can handle very large files, again, kind of like Dropbox. So the larger your file, you don't have to worry about file size, but again, going back to just timeliness and good planning, if it's a big file, it may take a while. So you want to, again, be very sure that your internet speed is at least fast enough to upload it, and then that you're trying to do it with enough time to get it uploaded in full by 5 p.m. So let me go back to my, all right, let's go back. Uh-oh. All right, so sorry, you all. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about the key takeaways from this presentation, then we'll get into the Q&A. So you should walk away knowing that you're going to submit at least 3 up to 4 files by December 7th, 2021, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. You should also walk away with knowing that you should review all the agency expectations before submitting your final application. And you really need to do your own completion check to whatever extent that you feel is necessary before you submit the final application. And lastly, please, please, please begin that upload process at least 2 hours before the deadline. And that is it. And we can do
Thank you
some
so
Q&A.
much. There are some questions if you want to take a look at the questions, and we'll start answering them.
Okay. So the first one is, do I need to attach the emails I sent out to the public officials or SBOE members for our public meeting? Ideally, yes, that would be great, because it would help us sort of streamline the process. If you forget one, we will look in the email chain to verify it that way. But it will help us, and we'll move faster through the completion process if we have those printouts included in the application submission. Someone asks, do new teachers have to attend a reading academy as they did in the Gen 26 application? I'm not sure what that's referencing. Drew, do you know what
those are the reading academies, and the answer is yes. Okay. And we'll provide a fuller explanation of that, but that's applicable to all reading teachers and elementary teachers, I believe. Okay, yeah. So the third question is, in the professional development section, it's force justifying the text. So I played with this, and I even talked to an applicant about this. It's not doing it on my end, and I don't know why, but I found the workaround, and you can try it. And if it doesn't work, get back to us. But if you go into Word and cut and paste it as it's left justified, it should carry over. I can't recreate the problem even when I downloaded it from the website. So I'm obviously you all are correct, but I don't know why I can't recreate the issue. So try opening up in Word or whatever word processing doc software you're using. Left justify it, cut and paste it. That should fix it. Let us know. Okay. Okay. I'm going to move this up, John. Yeah. There. Okay. Someone asked, for the school design assessment of learning, page 10 of 33. Okay. It's a table. We noticed in the past generations, it has a narrative to answer this section. In our generation, you just want us to list the assessments, for instance. I believe that would be correct. Drew, do you see that? Yes, that would be correct. We tried to streamline it. And so, yes, we just want a list of the assessments that you will be giving. Right. Okay, so another applicant writes, for non-CMOs, so for new operators who are not using a CMO, do you still include the CMO attachment cover sheets and indicate NA? Yes, please. If you forget, it's not going to be the end of the world, but yes, we would. Again, that helps us know that that was not a mistake. Okay, someone asks, can you please share what documents you expect to find behind the public meeting notice? So that's going to be the printout or a copy of whatever the published notification was. So if it's a Dallas Morning News, it'll be just a picture of that publication of that publication and where you actually posted. You're going to include, again, as we asking, the copy of the emails that you notify to the elected officials about the meeting. And then, as I had mentioned in a few emails at this point, if you have community support letters or anything to that effect, you can lump those in there as well. So to repeat that, that's going to be the printout of the published notice. And it helps us if you kind of circle it or something so we can see, so we're not fishing throughout the page to find it. Second will be the email notifications. And then third would be, if you have it or want to include it, our community support letters or any other sort of documentation that would help show the community support. Okay, let's see. There's a question under staffing chart attachment OP2. Yeah, okay, so another applicant, this is all gonna go in my, my update emails tomorrow, but we can address it now. So yes, so in the staffing chart, we noticed that the rows, you can't add the rows. So what you can do is, again, we were trying to streamline the process. You should be able to lump those positions
with the ones that we have given you, right? So if there's a complete outlier or something that just doesn't fit, again, email us. But by and by, your staffing should be able to clump within those, like assume it within one of those rows. And you can also adjust the names within those rows. So there won't be any exporting it to Word, et cetera. So you should be able to lump those assumptions within the rows given. If not, again, email us and we can try and, I guess, troubleshoot that.
They can actually change the text, add the text is what you're saying as well.
Right.
That's what we were able to do yesterday.
Right. I think the only one you can't change, I think, is sped teacher. I don't think you can adjust that one I don't know why you would need to. But again, we can talk about that if you need to address it. Just email us privately and we can set up some sort of conversation. Do local assessments include the STARS? Drew, can you read that? Sorry. STARS
Local
benchmarks.
assessments include the school's STAR benchmarks, but not the STAR exams. So any local assessments that you will be giving should be included. The state mandated STAR exams should not be included in local assessments.
Cool.
Can we open this up to the participants? Is anyone having difficulty saving the staffing chart form? Stephanie is asking. And it's a little different on our end. So is anyone else having trouble doing that? If so, could you just let us know by putting it in the Q&A function? If you're having trouble, let us know.
And I will also do that while you all are thinking about it.
By the way, so with Stephanie's will not save, it shows an error. Davis is running a little bit late. We're hoping that he'll be able to join us shortly. It gives a little bit longer for you guys to ask some questions that you still might have. John, you're muted.
I was saying, I'm trying to look at the staffing chart. So if someone has, oh, someone said.
Sherry just put something in the chat.
Okay. Okay. So you got it to save because
somebody had problems with some of the attachments and just filled it out again and then resaved. So let me just make a note that we're going to be sending out surveys to all applicants, and we ask that if you have comments like these, that you make them in the feedback survey so that we can make adjustments for Gen 28. It's really important that we get your feedback so that we can have a better application next go round. And thank you for all your comments as we try to problem solve this.
Okay, so Stephanie, I opened the staffing chart as if I were downloading it like you would be, and I saved it and I reopened it, and it's showing the changes that I made. So as I've said before, okay, I'm not sure. Okay, so if you are having like technical or trouble, like, you know, formatting issues, you are more than welcome to reach out. And again, I or Drew or whoever will reach out to you and try and get it resolved. Just like this. Like this would be a situation where you can reach out to us and say, hey, this is not working. Can you help me fix it? That is completely acceptable. So that is completely fine.
Let's not wait till December 6th. Let's try to do it this week. If you're having any problems, we do not want you to suffer from submitting a late document. Did you read the last one? And then I'll touch on the 4545.
There I go on mute again. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. So someone's saying that the entire application would show that error. I'm not entirely sure why that's happening. Maybe it's a Mac versus, you know, I guess Windows situation. But again, we did do troubleshooting before we published it. So like I said, the staffing chart saved for us, the application saved. So again, I'm not saying you all are wrong. I'm just trying to figure out why you would be getting those errors. Again, so I don't know, it might be a cross format issue. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so Stephanie's saying that all other attachments work, just that one. So yeah, I would, you know, it's an inconvenience, but again, also if something's happening, maybe use a different computer if you haven't already. So I'm assuming you all have already tried that as well. But if you're having issues like this, again, please reach out before the deadline so we can get these addressed. And we also have the office hours this week, so that'd be a good time to join and we could address those then as well.
So as far as 4545 in the grade placement committees being replaced by the accelerated learning committees, we knew that there were some changes to 4545 when we were drafting and then posting the app, but the changes had not been finalized and approved yet. I think Lizette Ridgway presented on that in one of our sessions, but yes, go ahead. You can mention the grade placement committees and that they will be replaced by accelerated learning committees and address the prompt that way.
Okay, and then someone asked sort of as a follow-up about the staffing chart. I'm asking if we can screen share, how to add additional line. So this goes back to what I was saying, that we noticed that you cannot add that additional line. Again, something happened between the upload process of the form that we created to what you all got. So we were saying that the workaround, the most logical assumption would be you can assume those positions within the confines of those categories that are provided for you, if that makes sense. So that should that should negate the need to add another line. But if there's just some crazy outlier position that just does not fit within the confines of any of those prescribed rows and types that we gave you in the staffing chart. And that's why I was saying, email us and then we can try and have that conversation from there. But we're hoping that you can assume those within the confines of those pre-designated rows we gave you. That you can, you can change the teacher, you can change the name of the CEO, et cetera. So there is some maneuverability and editability that you can apply to the staffing chart as is. But again, reach out to us if there's just some crazy outlier position that we can't, that you can't fit or comfortably assume, I guess.
We have time for a few more questions as we wait for Davis, if you guys have more questions.
And so while we wait, I just want to again, just really reiterate the two options that you have for kind of providing and making this flat PDF. Because I feel like this flat PDF concept has maybe confused some, made some panic a little bit. When you scan a document and they give it back to you, that's just a flat PDF. All the flat PDF means is you literally can't type anything into it anymore. It's just a flat, you can't edit it. So in the past, despite the application being a Word doc, PDF doc, whatever, if you're a returning applicant, you know that you had to go to Kinko's or wherever, have it printed and then rescanned in. And then they would give you that file. That's a flat PDF. That means you're giving us something that we can't edit, right? So you can do this one of two ways. You can take all your attachments and you can print them all out. And you can take them to Kinko's and have them scanned right back in as one document. You can do it that way if you'd like. We were trying to save you all a bit of money because we know that process can be somewhat expensive. Or we were saying that you could do the more like within Adobe method, which is taking all those documents, converting them to a flat PDF and just combining them in Adobe. And we tried to provide you some directions on that. So either way, so if you're freaked out or panicked about this flat PDF thing and doing it in Adobe, you can just print it out like you would have in the past. go to Kinko's, have them scan it right back in. That'll be the one document, and you're good to go. So again, so either way, nothing, like, so don't, I hope that takes the pressure off of you trying to figure out the flat PDF stuff. If you're more like Adobe proficient, then great, you can do it that way. Same thing with the narrative document. Again, so with the signatures, you can print it out, scan it in, or print it out, sign it, scan it in, or you can make it a flat PDF and input and put your signatures afterwards, however you want to do it. So either way gets us to the same place. That's what I was trying to say in that email a couple of weeks ago, is either way, whether you scan it or do it in Adobe, the result is a flat PDF. So whatever is makes you most comfortable. And again, that's something that we were trying to streamline and make sure that you all were saving some money since there was no printed submission. But if it's easier in the future going forward to go back to that, then we can consider that. That's what the survey that we'll be giving to you all will really help us, you know, provide some context to some of these situations you all are encountering. We were joking in the last, I don't know, was it the Q&A or the seminar, Drew, that we were going to put some music on during these silences. But someone does mention a good point, and I mean, I think we're kind of far down the line at this point, but yeah, I hope you all are kind of like saving multiple versions. I mean, that's what we kind of do here in the agency. We have V1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that way, if something does happen, we can go back to the previous version. So that's a good practice. Thank you, whoever brought that up. All right. Great, and thank you. Someone was just saying, reiterating how helpful these sessions have been. We have never had this kind of access. Thank you. Yeah, we've, you know, this was, Drew and I were talking earlier, you know, we are, did someone just join, or was that just my computer being weird? We have truly enjoyed this process. It's new. We were hoping it would go as well as it has gone. And we hope to carry this over into generation 28 and really make it an ongoing thing, only improving it as we go. So thank you.
You have another question there.
Mm-hmm. All right, so someone asked if the initials and signatures and letter of special assurances need to be signed by hand. No, so you can type, good question, Cashin. So you can type your initials, that's fine. You can type your initials. With the signature, what I was saying is depending on which option you're comfortable with, if you print it out and get it scanned in, you can just print it out and then hand sign it. Or if you're proficient in flattening PDFs in Adobe, then you can just flatten it and then input just your signature in there versus like an e-signature. And I hope that, does that clarify your question? All right, looks like our second panelist has joined us. Hey, Davis.
Hey, John. Hey, Drew. I am so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So we are recording. We are ready for you. Do you want me to drive your presentation or do you want to share it yourself?
Yeah, you can drive it. It's okay. You can go ahead.
Right. Okay, let me pull this up 1 second.
I like the hair, John.
I'm just trying to keep up with you, Davis. I don't know. I will never be able to, but I'm trying to get there. All right, let me get this pulled up. Here we go. All right. All right, Davis, you ready?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to share my screen.
Just a lay of the land. This is pre-record. We're going to pre-record this and present it to other people, correct?
Yes.
Oh, you're live right now.
You're live.
Got it. Okay.
But it's good. I appreciate your comment. You mean your compliments in my hair. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm ready.
Sure. So building community and engagement and support when starting your own charter school. My name is David Salazar. I'm the founder and head of school here at Houston Classical Charter School. This is our second year in operation. We opened last year in August 2020 during the middle of the global pandemic, which was still sort of operating in. So today we'll talk about some of the things that I've learned along the way, some of the things that I think are prerequisites to starting successfully or to garner support in your first your year zero of the school or thinking of applying, and then some of the ways of getting support from stakeholders in the community that you're trying to open a school in. Who am I? Again, founder. I'm originally from New York City, and now I'm a Texan. So I come from New York City. I came here about 3.5 years ago with my wife, who's a Texan. And before this, I had co-founded a school in New York City named the Neighborhood Charter School of Harlem back in 2012. Successful independent charter school. We grew a couple of charter schools out there, grew a couple of campuses in New York City, and then decided to make a move here to Houston. And in making that move, I was trying to think about what sort of options to have, what can we do here in Houston? And we decided to apply for a charter school. So I came here, I founded a magnificent board that's still with me today. They're the founding board members. And we got out there, hit the pavement and got some support for a charter, and we were able to open it. So our school is located in the southwest part of Houston. It's in the Alief area, but sometimes we're Alief, sometimes we're Mission Bend. We don't really know, but we're in the Alief area. We operate in Alief ISD. Again, we founded in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic. What makes our school unique is that we're a classical model. We focused a lot on the foundations. We believe that at the end of the day, the outcomes are the most important things. Our kids reading, our kids writing, our kids doing math and doing science at their grade level. So we really go back and focus on the foundations. Are our kids reading at grade level or higher than that? Are they writing articulately, starting in kindergarten daily? Are they doing mathematics, not just memorization, but also conceptually, and also science? Our students receive science at least 3 times a week here at Houston Classical, beginning in kindergarten. And then we focus a lot on character, our virtues. It's a big piece of our classical model. And then we also focus on rhetoric, language development, really pushing our students to talk in front of the class, to use their language and to really articulate their ideas about math, science, or any book that they're reading. And then lastly, we really want to foster students to critically think, not what to think, but really how to think. And that's something that I feel like the classical model lends itself to, where we see our children in 4th and 5th grade, being able to get into Socratic seminars and argue their point of a book that they're reading. So then that starts in kindergarten with a strong phonics program, with a strong writing curriculum, and so forth. Moving on next. And the why. So in building in founding a school here in Houston, and founding any school, but even in New York, you have to understand your why, right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about community engagement and how to garner that. But I think it first starts with you and your community. You have to know the why. You have to be very clear about why this school needs to exist, and the reason why it should exist in your community, and why you are doing this, why you want to put the school forward. So I feel like if you know that, if you know the parents and the families want this, that's going to be a driving force throughout your entire experience. If you know your why, you can clearly articulate it, you have an easier time in talking to families and garnering that support that you need in order to get approval here in Texas. And also the second question is, okay, so I know my why, I know why, I know why the school should exist. Is there a need? Is there a need in the community? And if so, can you articulate it? Can you articulate the fact that this program model that you're bringing to the community is not being taught? And if it's not being taught, like, how are you going to do it successfully? And if you feel like something is not being successful in the community, what are you trying to do differently to ensure that your program is successful, and how different it is from the others that you're implementing? So knowing your why and knowing that there's need, and be able to articulate that. And then at the end of the day also is, what do your families want? Do they want what's needed? And then how do you know? So I think these 3 questions should always be at the forefront. It should always be, there were times where I spent, and I talked a little about this later, but there were times I spent hours on a Saturday talking to parents in our local mall, just about like the why and the need in their community, that there's a need in the community. And those hours are well spent because when we needed those families during the pandemic and to hand out food and so forth, those families were here, that I've met 6, 8, 9 months from before. So, and part of the reason was because I was able to know my why, but also know like there was a need in the community, and I knew what the families wanted, and I was able to articulate that to the families and garner support in that way, because when I needed them the most, they were here for our school in the beginning before we even opened. And then the how, and like I mentioned before in my previous point is, how different is your school than other schools, and be able to clearly state how is your school different than what the traditional public school is serving, what they're providing, or any other charter school that is in that community, being able to speak on that, not just for the State Board of Education, but for families that you're trying to recruit long-term to your school. And then after that, after you answer all these questions and you about yourself and the school and the need, then you have to build a team. Build a strong team. As I said before, we started writing the application in 2008. So our board now is 5 years old, because we started way before we even applied to TEA. So we have a very strong board. So I had to build a team. I knew that I couldn't do it by myself. So in your application process, in the process of garnering support in the community, you need to have other members of your board or supporters be there with you, because you will need a team to get this through the end goal. And then building relationships, not just with the board members or supporters, but community stakeholders. So here I was building relationships with the librarian, with the local grocery store person, or owner of the supermarket and so forth. So be able to speak to them about why the school is important and why we should have a school here. And then be present, be in the community, be out there. One of the things that helped us tremendously pre and post application was being out there in the community on a Saturday, giving handing out treats and talking to families about what they need to school, and giving free school utensils. But also before the school started, we had a huge food drive here, which we fed more than 5,000 families. So you have to be present. Your face has to be seen, because that's going to drive your school, especially in its first year. Help and support the community. That's another thing that you need to do, not just post approval, before approval. So you can have that support from different community stakeholders. I was very fortunate to have great recommendations and people in the community that supported me through the application process, and I felt like really helped me get to that finish line. So really, you want to be able to garner those supporters. Also, be strategic. When you have conversations with someone, when you speak to someone, make sure that you keep their number, you keep their email, constantly email them, create a newsletter about your school, even though you haven't even been approved yet or applied. Make sure that you continue to build that support by being strategic, constantly communicating with your supporters or families that you've met through email, through a newsletter that you can create to keep them involved and keep them informed about what's going on with your proposed school. So be strategic. Always keep in communication with those members that you meet in the community to, again, garner support. I keep saying the word garner support because it is important. The school is not just about you or the group, but it's about the community itself and the people that you're bringing in to your school. And then moving forward. Strategies for enrollment. So when we started enrollment, after we got approval, it was pre-pandemic. So it was a lot of canvassing, a lot of walking in the streets, knocking on doors, talking to people, walking into living rooms and speaking to families or potential families, going to local supermarkets and so forth, and then also mailers. So if I went to this one particular community, I made sure to create a mailer that went to those same families. So they were not just getting me or my handout, but they were also getting a mailer soon enough so they can get hit a few times. We also rented space at a local mall each Saturday. We spent 3 or 4 hours there just building community with family members, and piggybacking on events that were happening already, speaking to those promoters and speaking to those people who established the event so we can be part of it as well. Meeting in libraries, A lot of our families do not have computers at home. So we knew that. They were also dependent a lot on the libraries to go home and to go use the internet. So we'll be there to like hand out flyers, talk about our school. So that was a big key factor in us pre-pandemic. And then events, creating events around the community, ice cream socials, around parking lots or in community, in local businesses. So this is something that we did pre-pandemic. It was successful to a certain extent, but at that same time, we did not have a facility to show. So it's challenging to say where we're going to be. So we had to be everywhere in the southwest part of Houston. And then March 2020 happened and the pandemic hit Houston, hit the country, the world. So we had to change course. It was going to be our first year. We were still deciding whether we were going to open or not. So then we decided, okay, let's figure out how we can help the community before even thinking about opening the school in August 2020. So we started doing strategic canvassing, so standing outside, and then that wasn't working so much because obviously most people were inside. So then we figured out, okay, what is a need that the people need? As we know, there were a lot of layoffs because of all the closures. So we partnered up with a local organization here, the Houston Food Bank, and we then started handing out flyers and sending out mailers and sending out Facebook ads about providing food and providing boxes of food for families who were in need. And every single day we had a line of hundreds of people coming in, picking up food. So we were able to identify a need that the community had, and then we were able to use our digital marketing to bring those people in. And through that also, we were able to enroll our students. So we'll drop food into someone's trunk, and then we'll talk about our school. We get them a flyer, and that's how we were able to get the majority of our students here on campus in our first year. So our strategies had to change from pre-pandemic to pandemic, obviously because we couldn't be in close contact with anyone, but we still wanted to open the school. And this kind of goes back to my why, back to pre-pandemic, back to pre-approval. I always went back to why are we opening the school? Is there a need? And if there's a need, then we need to fill that need, correct? So when we decided to open, whether we were going to open or not, or should we help or not, we went back to there is a why we exist. There is a need in the community for good academic outcomes. So therefore, we should open. And obviously, we've opened virtually for the first few weeks. We took a lot of precaution in opening, but that why that fuels you before you apply or through the application process has to always be there. It has to be strong enough to sustain many obstacles. And for us, it was a pandemic. Moving forward. And then in some, like I mentioned before, it's just knowing your why. Why do you want to open the school? And is there's a need? And then building relationships. And through those relationships, create a support system and keeping those relationships and team members engaged in what you're doing. So for my board, I had a bi-weekly newsletter. And then for supporters, I had a monthly newsletter that I kept everyone engaged. And in those informationals, I also sent out events that were going on and reach out to supporters to help me canvas or helped out with our digital marketing platform. Our digital marketing platform, which we target a lot of families and supporters, was myself and one of my board members. It wasn't something that we paid. It was something that we strategically did together because I was fortunate enough to have a marketing director and as a board member. So we were able to garner that support through the pandemic. And then build relationships. Relationships are very important. Again, pre-application or pre-approval and post. That's what's going to get you through. Your application may be great, you may get approved, but the relationships that you build that you can speak on when you get in front there of the State Board of Education, to talk about the relationship and the people that you've met and the support that you have behind you is going to be super important, again, to get to that finish line. And then at the end, like I say, so it's just be strategic. Know who you're talking to, keep them involved, figure out ways of having people support your school. So if it's a brand new parent that you just spoke to, how do you bring that parent in to support you in the school or canvassing? Pre-application, how do you get that parent even to come to Austin for the application when you have to present your application to the State Board of Education? So the relationship that you build, be strategic about it, keep people engaged, keep people engage in your project and in the work that you're trying to do in the community that you're trying to serve. And that's it for that.
Thank you, Davis, so much. We appreciate you joining us very much. I know there's a question in the chat. We're going to carry that question over and a couple of the other ones to Thursday, because unfortunately we reached our time and John and I have another meeting that we're late to. We will copy the questions in the chat and the Q&A and try to respond to those on Thursday if you can join us.
Okay.
Not you, but everybody else. But if you're welcome to join us too. Don't forget, we do have the office hours on Thursday. So thank you again, Davis. We appreciate it. And
yeah, thank you.
Next year you can come for an hour.
and sorry for my delay. I was stuck in a meeting, so
we totally understand.
Being a superintendent.
Yes, exactly. And if we didn't have another meeting, we would be happy to stay on with everybody, but unfortunately we have to end right now because we're late. But thank you, and we'll see everybody else if you can on Thursday. Appreciate it, Davis, very much.
Take care.
Alrighty.
Take care, Drew. Take care.
Bye.